Hello, long time no see. For a little jump back into video production, I wanted to do a book haul. Being out of town for my best friend's wedding, we were in and around San Jose. We found a lovely place called Recycle Books and basically went to effing town in it. I sure did. They had two beautiful cats. One of them was very talkative and social. We just had a great time, and let's share what I got. She was like, do you want a box? And I was like, yeah, I got. So first one is Make Magic of Your Life, Passion, Purpose, and the Power of Desire. I'd never heard about it. I love a self-help book and any sort of, oh, there's a really cute dog. So Make Magic of Your Life by T. Thorne Coyle. The back of it says, do you have the sense that you were born to do something more with your life, but you don't know what it is? Do you long to step into your power and live a life of passion? Do you wish to be of greater service? Are you willing to follow your soul's desire? Join master teacher and magic worker T. Thorne Coyle as she shows us how to do just that. Activate the magical formula known as the 4 powers of the Sphinx. These 4 powers, to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silence, help bring about a profound shift in how we view and move through the world. They point us toward our highest purpose and show us what to do, both practically, spiritually, and once we found it. They lead us to a life of magic. I just thought that sounded really sweet, and I love a little magic. So there's that. Next, we have Pima Chodron, Start Where You Are, A Guide to Compassionate Living. An excerpt from this book, we already have everything we need. There is no need for self-improvement. All these trips that we lay on ourselves, the heavy-duty fearing that we're bad and hoping that we're good, the identities that we so dearly cling to, the rage, the jealousy, and the addictions of all kinds. I bought a lot of books. Pima doesn't need to know about that. Never touch our basic wealth. They are like clouds that temporarily block the sun, but all the time our warmth and brilliance are right here. This is who we really are. We are one blink of an eye away from being fully awake. Okay, where am I putting books that I've talked about? Great, good, yeah. Next, we have The Discovery of Poetry, A Field Guide to Reading and Writing Poems by Frances Mays. Oh, this is from the author of Under the Tuscan Sun. I really, this is $1.99, thank you. I have been really into learning about poetry and the different forms and how to interpret it and how to interpret different authors. So any book really how to interpret poems I'm super into, so I'm very excited to dive into this. Oh, this is a show on Netflix that I started to watch like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. It's a Spanish language television show called The Time in Between, and I love a period drama, but I'm really into stories about the Spanish Civil War. Okay, so basically the main character, she's a seamstress and she has to escape. Yeah, at age 12, Sira Quiroga, oh boy, here we go. I'm sorry, I took French in high school. Okay. Sira Quiroga sweeps the atelier floors where her single mother works as a seamstress. By her early 20s, she has learned the ropes of the business and is engaged to a modest government clerk, but then everything changes. With the Spanish Civil War brewing in Madrid, Sira impetuously follows her husband. Nope, she definitely doesn't. She impetuously follows her handsome new lover to Morocco, but soon finds herself abandoned, penniless, and heartbroken. She reinvents herself by turning to the one skill that can save her, creating beautiful clothes. As World War II begins, Sira is persuaded to return to Madrid, where she becomes the preeminent couturier for an eager clientele of Nazi officers' wives. She becomes embroiled in a half-lit world of espionage and political conspiracy rife with love, intrigue, and betrayal. So, very excited, and excuse me, I'm gonna just dippity dip into all of these chapters. I'm very intrigued to get to know this story again, especially from the episodes that I watched, because I really liked the show, but once I saw there was a book of it, I was like, oh damn. And also, I love books about clothes. I love books about talking about how we dress ourselves, which is also a theme in some of the books that I got too. Speaking of which, The Girl Who Wrote in Silk. Excuse this title for being the most perfect. I'll read the back for you. The smallest items can hold centuries of secrets. Inara Erickson is exploring her deceased aunt's island estate when she finds an elaborately stitched piece of fabric hidden in the house. As she peels back layer upon layer of the secrets it holds, Inara's life becomes interwoven with that of Mei Lian, a young Chinese girl mysteriously driven from her home a century before. Through the stories Mei Lian tells in Silk, Inara uncovers a tragic truth that will shake her family to its core and force her to make an impossible choice. Let's see, and this is a little snippet from it. Every inch of the sleeve was intricately embroidered with richly colored threads, creating pictures as detailed as if they were paintings. Inara knew nothing of textiles or sewing, but even she could tell this sleeve was not merely a piece of clothing, but a work of art. So, yeah, okay, ready to read. This book I actually had my eye on, and I had it in my Amazon cart, but I was like, it's expensive, and I'm like, can I live without this book right now? You know, I have so many books that I want to read, yes, but it's definitely like on my list. And then I found it used. It's called Never Say You Can't Survive, How to Get Through Hard Times by Making Up Stories. I'm not kidding, I've been through it this past year. So I'm like, cool, whatever will help, great. It says, the world is on fire, so tell your story. Things are scary right now. We're all being swept along by a tidal wave of history, and it's easy to feel helpless, but we're not helpless. We have minds, imaginations, and the ability to visualize other worlds and valiant struggles. And writing can be an act of resistance that reminds us that other futures and other ways of living are possible. Okay, is this where we want to get sartorial with it? I had to roll out of the shot and get a book. Who am I talking to? I'm looking at myself. I had to roll out of the shot and get a book. It's this one. I've actually started reading it. It's called Sex and Suits, The Evolution of Modern Dress. And when I tell you I love to read about like textiles and why we dress and present the way we do, the meaning of how we present ourselves, I'm so fascinated by it. I think especially because I think the general prevailing ideas, thinking about clothes, thinking about appearance, expressing yourself with your look is kind of twee or like not important, and it is so important even if you think it's not, and you are participating in it even if you think you're not, or you think you don't care about clothes, or you think you're not thinking about it. You is. From the back, power and suits, yes. Tradition and suits, certainly, but sex and suits, acclaimed by John Updike in The New Yorker. Wow, okay. Anne Hollander's compulsively readable history of the evolution of modern fashion is a marvelous investigation into the language of clothes. Venturing playfully backward and forward through the history of costumes and art, Hollander reveals how fashion thrives on the brink of subversion in subtle or brash confrontation with the masculine and feminine conventions of any age. There is more to suits than meets the eye, and she proceeds to show how sex and gender definition override class as the driving forces behind fashion. By seeing through clothes, Hollander helps us read our own sartorial desires and reminds us that in our highly visual world, appearance is always significant. Clothes do make the man. Doesn't that sound amazing? The bookstore had a small but like juicy section about sartorial interests, fashion, beauty, that type of thing. So I picked some stuff up. Next in that little doobie-doo is Quant by Mary Quant, her autobiography. So she is, I guess, I think it's been disputed, but she's allegedly like the inventor of the miniskirt, was highly influential in mod, fashion, and design in the 60s. Oh, originally published in 1966. I didn't know that. All right. Originally published in 1966, Quant by Quant is the hugely entertaining story of Mary Quant's early career and life with husband and business partner Alexander Plunkett Green. After opening the groundbreaking Bazaar boutique on the King's Road in 1955, Quant soared to international fame with her brand of witty fashion style, which fitted perfectly with modern life about town. Just as her signature styles have become synonymous with the pop culture of the swinging 60s, her joyful, evocative autobiography captures the world in which she found inspiration and which she ultimately helped to define and change. Super fascinated. And like, what a gorgeous design. This is like sort of matte paper. Like, excuse me. Next, from the fashion section, we have The Emperor of Scent, a true story of perfume and obsession. I love reading about perfume. I don't know if you know this about me, but now you know. I love reading about perfume, and I don't know why. This is by Chandler Burr. The Emperor of Scent tells of the scientific maverick Luca Turin, a connoisseur and something of an aesthete, who wrote a best-selling perfume guide and bandied about an outrageous new theory on the human sense of smell. Drawing on cutting-edge work in biology, chemistry, and physics, Turin used his obsession with perfume and his eerie gift for smell to turn the cloistered worlds of the smell business and science upside down, leading to a solution to the last great mystery of the senses: how the nose works. How the nose works. No. Okay. Next is a book called A Perfect Fit: Clothes, Character, and the Promise of America by Jenna Weissman Joselit. Jenna Weissman Joselit. Okay, excuse me, look at this fabulous picture of her. Do we dare? You better work, Jenna. While fashions of the rich and famous have been endlessly chronicled, little attention has been paid to the meaning of clothes for everyone else. That immediately grabbed me. I was like, that is so true. A lot of our prevailing thought about the clothes of yesteryear and everything, they're all famous people. I was immediately grabbed by like, oh yeah, what was everybody else wearing? Like what was we doing to do our everyday lives, and maybe not like the fantasy of Hollywood. So anyway, little attention has been paid to the meaning of clothes for everyone else. Yet between 1890 and 1950, as ready-to-wear came into its own, the clothes of the ordinary Americans claimed the nation's attention. Now allied with civic virtue, fashion played an increasingly important role in shaping national character. Drawing on a wealth of sources from advertisements and health manuals to sermons and songs, the acclaimed historian Jenna Weissman Joselit shows how the length of a woman's skirt, the shape of a man's hat, and the height of a pair of heels enabled citizens of every faith, color, and class to feel part of the modern nation. Imaginative and original, A Perfect Fit uncovers a time in our history when getting dressed was more about fitting in than standing out, and vividly shows how clothes came to express the spirit of democracy and the promise of America. So it seems like almost in opposition to like this Mary Quant book, like this sort of takes up the mantle after something like this where you're trying to stand in. Standing in really means something. It means a feeling of like solidarity to the average person. Whereas this, starting in the 60s, means like you want to stand out, you want to celebrate your youth, you want to be bold and different. And I just am very excited to dive in. Okay, and this one I thought was just like really sweet. I love the size of it, and I just love books like this. It's called Home Sweet Maison: The French Art of Making a Home by Danielle Postel-Vinet. How do the French create the alluringly beautiful sanctuaries they call home? Formal yet comfortable, organized yet casual, filled with decorative objects that are also a practical part of their everyday lives. What may feel effortless is not, of course, and in Home Sweet Maison, Danielle Postel-Vinet shares what she has learned about the French art of making a home. Through a transformative friendship with a French woman who mentored her in the good life, her marriage to a Parisian man, and years of immersive research while living in France, Postel-Vinet learned the true essence of how the French live la belle vie. Home Sweet Maison takes a room-by-room approach to how the French view the aesthetic, the practical, the sensual, the philosophical, and much more. So, very excited to read that. As I said earlier, I don't sew, I don't do any of that, but I'm intrigued, and I don't know if it's gonna lead anywhere, but I've always had my eye on this book. I'm not gonna pressure myself to do anything, to like buy a bunch of stuff, to sew a bunch of projects. I'm not, but maybe it will lead to something. I'm very interested in the idea of tailoring my own clothes, but that might be advanced, I don't know. This is Sewing for Dummies by Jan Saunders. My mother was a seamstress and a designer, and she made a lot of my clothes. She made a lot of fierce little kid clothes for me and sewed up a lot of my jeans when I would rip them. So I basically grew up like waking up to the sound of a sewing machine. I inherited none of the interest, almost like it's repellent to me to even try to sew anything. And I don't know why, because I'm very interested in, like, you know, again, like fashion and how we present. And I think it just handicrafts in general, like I've never really been someone who was like, let me pick up a paintbrush, let me woodwork, let me leather tool. So I don't know what this means to me. But I think that's what this book haul is. It's a sense of exploration. Speaking of exploration, the next book that I got is The Queens of Burlesque. And it's just this juicy, frothy, just picture book of just hot ladies in their burlesque costumes. How fabulous is this? I love the styling, the 40s and 50s. But it's a little, you know, it's not really like the Kodachrome, like the movie stars, the movie studios. It's grimier, you know, their eyebrows are a little more sharpied on. I think it's fabulous. Oh, come on. Hot. So, you know, I like that things, even though, you know, they're pictures that are very staged, and of course, there's something a little more like hand put together about it because they're burlesque artists, you know, they didn't have a ton of money. They were creating this fantasy that's a little scuzzy, and I love it. So a lot of inspo in that book. Okay, this book really fascinated me. This is a biography of a movie star named Jean Marshall. If you've never heard of Jean Marshall, it's because Jean Marshall is a doll, but they've written a biography of her and included pictures from her movies, but she's like a fictional character that a doll was made up of in like the early 90s. And apparently she's like this cult classic. I have no idea. This is the first I've ever heard about this doll. I'm just looking into this. I haven't even looked on the internet about like what doll collectors think of this doll or anything like that. But like just beautiful illustration, just like telling her story. Like Barbie has lore of her own, like she's from Wisconsin, she moved to Malibu, or however it goes. And this is a doll that I've never heard of. So I thought it was really sweet the way this was presented as a biography of this, you know, famous starlet, but it's a doll created to be a starlet, and I'm interested to know more. I'm not a doll collector at all, and I think this is also a really fun exploration into glamour for me because I'm not interested in starting doll collecting, so there's no pressure that I feel to like buy anything. I'm just interested in like how they're telling this story of this doll and what people think of it. Swinging back around from nothing having to do with anything fashion related at all, this is Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot casebook. Hercule Poirot, detective of detectives. Here for the first time in one volume is the complete collection of 50 stories about Hercule Poirot. Hercule Poirot, the fabulous Belgian detective. Poirot does not disappoint. He tells everybody off and makes everybody think that he thinks that they did it before finally revealing the murderer. He's fabulous. I'm really excited to actually be able to read the stories because I love the show so much. And David Suchet as Poirot, you will fall in absolute love if you love a little period drama, murder mystery situation. You're gonna love it, and I'm so excited to be able to read these stories and just dive in. Okay, last but certainly not least, I'm so excited. Another fun fact about me is that I have a large collection of costume jewelry, in particular clip-on earrings. Vintage clip-on earrings, they're my favorite. I love the way they give a little spin to every outfit that I have. Oh God, I just turned to a page of all racist jewelry. Okay, this is collectible costume jewelry, identification, and values. And it just has a bunch of just inspo pics of fabulous costume jewelry. I have another book on costume jewelry that I saw on one YouTube channel that's like fashion history and something. I'll put it up on the screen. I don't remember what it's called. The woman who runs the channel, she was basically talking about how most books are about fine jewelry and those styles don't really change, but costume jewelry really reflects trends and social change. Like they change a lot, pieces of costume jewelry and design of costume jewelry. So I'm very fascinated by that and how that reflects the times. So anyway, you know, more fabulous pictures. So yeah, that's my book haul from Recycle Books. Hopefully you're doing well. Anyway, thanks for watching. What are you reading? Tell me what you're reading. Thanks for catching up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I tried to set up the shot with my camera. I have my camera on this little suction cup thingy on my window, and I don't know how to get it off. I just tried for a little bit of time to get this little suction cup off the window so that I could set up the shot a little taller, but it's not happening. Yes, this is my breast. This is my breast showing through a little hole in my shirt. Boop. Let's pretend like it's a pin. Let's pretend like it's a decorative item. What am I talking about? I want to talk to you about books. Okay.